Teacher-chan saw it. My name is Katsura, a college guy attending a local university. It's what they call going home to your parents. Mom travels around overseas for work and rarely comes home. So basically, I just live with my dad. Hey Dad, the printer's acting up again.
What?
You're right. I think I should send it in for a full repair once. I'm just going to give the electrician a call. I see that Mrs. Azami's incident is still lingering. Mrs. Azami is a woman who lives in my neighborhood. She's roughly about the same age as Dad, and is also married as a full-time housewife. This Mrs. Azami, she has a little habit of being a little too thrifty. Her main way to save money is to receive blessings from others, like visiting other people's houses and being treated with a meal, charge her phone or turn on the cooler and relax for a few hours.
Sorry, Mr. Tokusa. Can I borrow your printer for a minute?
Huh? Well,
I guess you can. In our case, it was the printer. She said she had something she wanted to print, but
you're printing quite a lot.
Yeah, I just need it for work.
I see. But if you print that many copies...
Oh, the paper is jammed.
I told you so.
Hey!
What? What on earth are you doing?
You know what they say, you can fix these things by hitting them.
Some might say that, but...
Eventually, the printer was able to print successfully on this occasion, but it caused the printer to behave erratically from that point on. Because of that incident, my father went to warn Mrs. Azami about it a month ago. However, at that time...
Excuse me, are you saying it's my fault?
No, but at least part of the cause.
The printer was all to begin with. It was even causing paper jams. Would you please not blame others for your lack of maintenance?
Don't talk to me like that. To be honest, I've always thought you're a bit too arrogant.
Excuse me?
You come into people's homes and take all kinds of things. This time it was the ink and a few hundred sheets of A4 paper. I didn't expect you would use our printing paper either.
And what? It's not that expensive to buy it, right? It's very small of you to complain about something like that.
And so, with the tit-for-tat words, things got complicated. Fortunately, or should I say that, it was my dad who came out on top this time. This was because other neighbors, who were also unhappy with her, took his side. Mrs. Azami's husband and daughter were also on our side, and as a result, Mrs. Azami was forced to live separately for a while. Thankfully, there hasn't been any trouble, but like the fact that the printer is still acting up, the wounds run deep. Plus, strange little things have been happening lately.
Katsura, I'm in the middle of a call right now, so I'm sorry to ask, but can you get that? Well, I have a pretty good idea what it could be.
I think the same. I'll get it anyway.
Oh, Katsura.
Tsutsuji.
Sorry to show up suddenly. Actually, I made too much nikujiaga meat and potato stew, so I was wondering if you and your dad would have some.
Oh yes, thank you so much. But I'm always sorry. You shared your curry with us the other day too.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. You can just give me back the Tupperware and that's enough. If you have any problems, you can always tell me, okay? We are neighbors after all.
Okay. Like this? Recently, my neighbors have been giving us a lot to share. Moreover, it's in rotation, and almost every day. My wife's steamed egg custard is the best.
I'm in cooking class. Please, have a taste.
A bunch of vegetables arrived from my parents. Because of the shared food, our food budget is now almost 0 yen. It's a great help to my dad, who's always busy with work, because it saves him the time and effort to cook. But still, it's strange when days like these continue to happen. I always feel bad. But even if I try to share with them in return, they seem to give me twice as much as me on those days. Why in the world, I wonder?
Katsura? Who was it?
Tsutsuji. She shared her nikujaga.
I see. I always feel grateful. I'll have to bring some gifts to the town hall meeting tomorrow. Something that neighbors other than Tsutsuji can take too. Katsura? You know those cookies I bought on my last business trip? Could you take those for me?
Yeah, sure. Did you say you weren't going, Dad?
Yeah. I have a little meeting with Mr. Hiragi for some business.
You mean Mrs. Azami's husband, Mr. Hiragi?
Yeah. So you go to the city hall for me, Katsura.
Got it! And so, I attended the town hall meetings with the cookies. But, could it be? I didn't expect Mrs. Azami to be participating. I assume she's sitting in for her husband, but, she's got some guts. I'm sure the town knows about the last printer incident and all that.
Oh, Katsura, are those cookies?
Huh? Oh, yes. My dad told me to bring them in.
Oh, my, you didn't have to care for us so much.
The usual Mrs. Azumi would have started eating before I even offered it. Perhaps she's been converted?
Besides, it's not like I'm gonna take any shit from you now.
What?
Oh, nothing. Anyway, it's about to start, the town hall meeting.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to talk about next month's Mochi Pounding Festival.
I couldn't hear it well. I wonder what she said to me. After that, the town hall meeting proceeded without a hitch. After all the things that needed to be discussed were done, and the time came for the final exchange of ideas.
May I have a word?
Huh?
What is it, Mrs. Azumi?
Oh, it's nothing. I just wanted to share something with you all.
What about?
Come on, you're probably aware of this, about Mr. Tokusa's incident.
What? My dad's?
Let's stop this, Mrs. Azumi. Not while Katsura's here, too.
That's not how it works. That must have been a bit of a shock for you, all right? Of course that's no surprise after I got such a strange letter.
What? A strange letter?
Yes, go on, have a read, 'cause I brought it in.
Let's see. What? I was astonished, because the letter said the following. Please excuse my abrupt letter. I'm currently unable to put most of my income into my home due to certain circumstances. If things continue as they are, I will not be able to pay for my son, Katsura's school fees, let alone provide for living expenses. If you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it if you could be so kind as to share some of your food. I don't want him to worry, so please don't tell my son about this. I would be grateful for any help. Tokusa. Why?
I don't know what their certain circumstances are, though. Most likely he lost his job or he was saddled with debt or something along those lines. I'm sorry to hear that, but just because of that, to put these begging letters in my mailbox, don't you think it's insane? I have to admit, I was even a little creeped out.
Does this mean the reason at first it was Tsutsuji, and then the others started sharing foods, was because of this letter? But it doesn't look like my dad is in any kind of trouble at all.
I'm sure he was just trying to act tough so that you wouldn't worry, Katsura.
If he had the strength to act so boldly, I wish he would not do such a shameless thing.
Hold on a minute, Mrs. Azumi.
Well, don't you think? This is insane. He doesn't want to even let you use the printer, but he's asking so much from others. Of course, I didn't grace him with anything. I have no obligation to go along with such insane begging. Isn't it the same for all of you, too?
What?
Not really. I shared my food.
What? I did too.
Me and our place? We did it too. I was always indebted to Mr. Tokusa at these town hall meetings. This was the least I could do.
But why did you? When I tried to have dinner with you, you all seemed so frustrated.
That's probably because you kept taking from them.
What? Darling? And Mr. Tokusa too?
Dad? Didn't you have a meeting? It was over a lot quicker than I thought. I thought I'd just show my face at the end, but I didn't think this was happening.
Mr. Tokusa, just out of curiosity, is it true what Azumi said?
No, I don't recall sending such a letter. I'm not in any kind of trouble in living either. We did enjoy our share of the food we received, though.
There's one more thing that I'm curious about, Azumi.
What?
Why do you have that letter?
Well, of course I have it. It was posted in our mailbox.
You were back at your parents' home for a while.
And it was in my parents' home's mailbox.
Your family lives in the next town over, though, right?
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
What is it, Akamatsu?
I'm working part-time at a convenience store in the next town over, and I saw Mrs. Azumi there.
Huh? And what you trying to say?
Well, I wouldn't have been bothered if it was just normal shopping, but at that time, Mrs. Azumi was wearing a mask and sunglasses, and was in some kind of disguise.
And what was Azumi doing at that time?
She was printing something. Well, I was busy with customers at the time, so I didn't see everything in detail. Printing? That Mrs. Azumi, who's the kind that prints hundreds of copies at others' houses, went through the trouble of paying for it at a convenience store?
What's wrong with that? Even I do things without being stingy sometimes.
But still, if it's just normal printing, you could have used your parents' printer or something. The reason you didn't do that is because you didn't want your parents to see, just in case. Right?
I don't know. If I gather all the information I have so far, I can only come up with one answer. Mrs. Azumi?
What?
Was it you?
With what?
Well, I'll take it from here, Katsura. Mrs. Azumi, answer me truthfully. The one who printed that letter and posted it was you, wasn't it?
What proof do you have?
I'm sure I can find plenty of evidence if I look for it. Among those who received the letters, some may have security cameras in front of their entrance doors.
Why? Doesn't things work out?
And so, Mrs. Azami's plot over the sharing was exposed. Because of this one incident with the printer that she had with my dad, she resented the fact that she was forced to leave and live separately. And because of that, in order to isolate him, she scattered the letters like this throughout the neighborhood. However, the result was as you could see. Her credibility was destroyed, and Mr. Hiragi also went through a divorce. She's currently living at home with her parents. From then on, we haven't heard any trouble, so perhaps she's behaving herself. How do I say? It was a case that showed me the kindness of the people in my town and the fear of incrimination at the same time. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? After finding out the truth, the amount of sharing foods had gone down. On the other hand, I also handed out some sweetened packages to them to apologize for the trouble I had caused them. But I didn't expect Mr. Hiragi to buy me a new printer. He said it was because his wife had caused trouble, but that was a very generous offer. He was the complete opposite husband to Mrs. Azami, wasn't he? Mr. Hiragi was also depressed. He thinks that if he had been a little more patient with his wife, things might not have come to this point. But well, people don't really change that much. Just like how your mom has been flying all over the world after giving birth to you and not coming back very often, you should keep that in mind when you get married too. Got it!
ご視聴いただきありがとうございました。ご近所さん同士で助け合えるほどの仲って素晴らしいことだと思いますけど、今回のように自分はもらうばかりっていうのはなんていうか申し訳ないなとか思わないんでしょうかね。思わないから他人の家で涼んだりごちそうになることを節約と言って過ごしていたんでしょうけど、他人を陥れる真似をする前に自分の行動を見直していただきたいものです。それにしても電化製品叩けば治る理論、自分のものにやるならまだしも他人のものにやる勇気はある意味すごいですね。皆さんはどう感じましたか？コメント欄に書いていただけると嬉しいです。また少しでもスカッとした方、チャンネル登録と高評価をお願いいたします。